Welcome to Uplink. The aviation dialogue starts here. I'm Shasta Ways.
And I'm Michael Wiles.
Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to the Uplink podcast, where today we're diving deep into the future of aviation with a focus on autonomous platforms, the intricacies of the Collaborative Combat Aircraft Program, and the strategic role of supply chains in shaping the next generation of air combat. Our guest, Robert Wesley, brings a wealth of knowledge and experience from the forefront of aerospace innovation and supply chain management. Robert's career has been marked by his leadership in supply chain execution, business strategy, and stakeholder engagement, particularly in global programs that meet critical customer needs. His recent work includes leading initiatives that are at the cutting edge of aerospace technology and strategy. This includes his role in supporting the MQ-28, developing long-term strategies for autonomous systems, disruptive investment projects, improving supplier performance in the MQ-25, and driving a unified approach for small turbine engine across different segments of the aerospace industry. In today's episode, we'll explore the dynamic world of the CCA program and the concept of the Loyal Wingman, delving into how these innovations are reshaping combat strategies and what they mean for the future of both young and current professionals in the aerospace sector. We'll also touch on the critical role of supply chains in supporting these advanced technologies and ensuring their success on a global scale. As we navigate these topics, it is important to note that while Robert brings an insider's perspective from his extensive work with Boeing's defense, space, and security, his insights and opinions are informed by his own expertise and experience and do not reflect any official stance or affiliation. Welcome to Uplink. The aviation dialogue starts here.
Robert Wesley, welcome to the Uplink podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Really happy to be here. So glad to, be a guest on this show. It's really great things that you guys are doing.
Thank you for joining us and thank you for making the time. We really appreciate it. So, Rob, for those who maybe not be experts or know a lot about this topic, could you please explain what autonomous platforms and air combat are and how they might change how we think about flying in the next 10 years?
Yeah, so really autonomous air platforms are aircraft which flies under the control of automatic systems, and they need no intervention from like a human pilot. So most of that autonomous aircraft are either like unmanned aircraft vehicles or it can be drones, all across those spectrum. However, most of the autonomous control systems are reaching a point where, you're starting to think about air taxis and urban air mobility, and anything associated with that where drones are, really being, pushed to the forefront right now. And this is where I feel that autonomy plays a major piece in how urban air mobility is advancing. Think air taxis, drone package deliveries, autonomous, logistics facility maintenance, et cetera. I think all those are really in the forefront of our future. We're really close to that being, the way of our future right now.
That's really exciting. I think as we've been following the news for the last couple of years, we saw a lot of eVTOL companies come online. And I think many of them said this was the year, and maybe like next year would sort of be when we would see those things come to fruition. So it's really interesting to see this shift in the industry, which we haven't had for a long time.
And I think the only thing really delaying us right now is like the government policies, FAA regulations, safety regulations, things like that to really get pushed out and approved by all the governments.
Could you give us an easy to understand overview of collaborative combat aircraft and why they're so important to defense programs?
Yeah, collaborative combat aircraft are an amazing technology that the government is pushing out right now. And they really see that as like the wave of the future for the government. And CCAs, which is the collaborative combat aircraft, are autonomous vehicles that can perform different missions ranging from carrying weapons and flying ahead of the aircraft to provide intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and relay that valuable early warning and evade detection to electronic warfare and striking targets either on their own or in accordance to like the rest of the force. So really combining and pairing with that fighter jets to make missions successful. And these CCAs will really comprise of a new breed of significantly less expensive and highly autonomous, mission-focused, unmanned, collaborative combat aircraft to fly along, with what we see as the 5th generation and new human crewed fighter jets. And really, the main point of this is these are really extremely important to the government as technology is rapidly advancing in the military. And as you've seen in the war, countries are really advancing that technology to, gain more power. And the ones that are really in more power are more, advanced than the other countries. And these platforms are really vehicles that are shaping how future wars and intelligence will be conducted.
It's so interesting because we've had a guest on this show that talked about the civilian use of unmanned aircraft and urban air mobility and eVTOLs. So to get this perspective with government military use is very interesting. And I'd love to know, how do unmanned aircraft, or as you called it, CCAs, work alongside manned jets like the F-35 to enhance their capabilities in real combat situations?
Yep. And this is where man-unmanned teaming, which is a MUMT concept that is well known within the government, comes into play. So that technology synchronizes employment of a soldier, man, unmanned, air, ground vehicles, robotics, sensors to achieve an enhanced situational understanding, greater lethality, and improved survivability. But to explain MUMT generally, as a standardized system architecture and communications protocol that enables live and still images gained from the sensor payloads of unmanned aerial systems to be shared across a force. So that you have that connection and data link between the two unmanned and manned forces that are controlling the unmanned aircraft vehicle, sharing that back and forth. And so when we talk about MUMT, that manned platform that connects to the unmanned aircraft vehicle, it has different levels of interoperability. So the levels of interoperability depends on how advanced that technology is. So, to break it down, it's like 5 levels right now that is currently known, but is our future levels that are being explored. So level 1 being, receipt of information of the unmanned platform to its ground control element. Level 2 being direct receipt of that information from an unmanned aircraft system to a manned helicopter or other manned remote vehicle. Level 3 being, a manned platform directly controlling that payload of the unmanned aircraft system directly. Level 4 is where that manned platform controls the airborne platform and the payload, except in the launch and recovery. And then level 5 is, full control of that unmanned aircraft vehicle, including the launch and recovery. And where the future is going is level X, is where a lot of things are being developed. And then that refers to the evolving capability of a single manned platform controlling multiple of these unmanned drones or platforms in conjunction with that. So this is kind of how I break it down, CCAs and how they're shaping the future wars of the country.
Wow. So this is a really new paradigm that most people don't even think of. But at the same time, the military and companies are working on these advanced technologies. And I kind of see a similar thread going on right now, in the AI space, where the companies are talking about AI being a co-pilot to human work. And it seems like this is the similar aspect of it, where there are technologies that are being developed to support the roles that fighter pilots that would usually do. Is that what you kind of see?
Yeah, so I think the advancing of AI and machine learning is really going to, enhance that capabilities for these autonomous drones and vehicles as it moves forward, because that piece of it is going to be continuing learning, continually feeding back that data to the manned platforms or the ground to really enhance what elements the missions are able to accomplish.
So Rob, shifting gears a little bit in terms of talking about the impact on pilots in the aviation industry, I recently had on another podcast a U2 pilot come on and talk about just some of the training and just like everything that your body goes through when you are up in these high altitudes doing these missions. And as a pilot, I really felt for this person. And then on the other spectrum, I know pilots, they're very much excited about flying these machines. So it's like, this balance of where does a future pilot flying these aircraft, like where do they stand? So with the rise of these flying machines, what changes can pilots expect in their jobs? And will this make flying safer or more complex for them?
In my opinion, I believe they will still maintain some level of job security for pilots, as commercial flights will still be needed for those longer flight plans. Having their expertise is also extremely useful for maintaining that autonomous vehicle air traffic with their extensive flight experience. As far as safety, I think having autonomous vehicles flying at different layers of the flight communication will be still good. My assumption is that commercial flights and the urban flight plans and areas will be at a different airspaces, so it won't be any cross planes of autonomous air vehicle flying at the same altitude as, let's say, a commercial air flight. But I think more complexity will be added to that air traffic controllers maintaining how those aircraft are taken off of coming from like airports or things like that, or how they're take off from various urban mobility stations. So that's kind of how I see that balance between pilots versus unmanned aircraft vehicles.
Can I ask a follow-up question? And you might not be an expert on this, but do you think the air traffic management system is ready for this?
I think I'm not totally sure because I don't have the most knowledge about the air traffic controller system, but I think this is going to add an extreme level of complexity to their jobs as far as maintaining the amount of aircraft that will be in the air. Because, right now they're slated to, cover helicopters, commercial flights, things like that, the bigger airplanes and, the smaller, one-man flights that people have. But at the complexity of various sizes of unmanned vehicles, along with various other things that are going on as far as like drone flights and package deliveries, that's going to be a ton of things to manage in the air that they're going to have to either maintain or try to combine with other roles that will be created to help maintain the airspace going forward.
Yeah. I'm curious. So from a customer perspective, particularly in commercial aviation, how do you think the integration of these autonomous technologies could influence their flying experience in the future?
And I think this will greatly enhance the customer commercial flight experience. I mean, for instance, look at how Uber, Lyft, and et cetera, those companies have impacted the driving market, giving those customers more optionality to travel with their needs. A quicker response time is really paramount. Having those, long trips, 2-3 hour trips be done in minutes will be great for them. But also, as you think of like not having to sit in heavy 5 o'clock traffic after work to reduce that commuter headaches is also a complete bonus for the end user, because you have that commercial urban mobility where you could just fly over somewhere in minutes versus it might take you an hour or two, especially in this DC traffic. So
you talked a little bit about this before, but considering your experience in global business strategy, how do you think countries worldwide will react to these autonomous flying technologies, especially in their military forces?
And I think, in my opinion, this will be especially welcome from a commercial flight standpoint to enhance that personal and family connectivity. I mean, we're a global country. We have people spread out, in your family across the various countries. So, we live in that global world where travel is a major piece of the connection between various countries. So having this technology platforms enhance that capability is only going to be welcome in my instance. From a military aspect, I think this may be turned into a race of who can advance the technology the fastest. I do see synergies being realized amongst allied countries because they might align on communication channels or the ways to share information, data that's collected from those autonomous platforms. So that's kind of how I see, both from a commercial standpoint, but also in the military aspect of it.
And it seems like there's a big need for these things today with all the disruption going on around the world. So I think it's also interesting to see how this market will develop.
So yeah, but I mean, I see it also in instances of sea exploration, where autonomous sea vehicles, where you're exploring beneath the ocean, where to depths that we actually aren't able to explore right now, but also space exploration, where you're seeing more unmanned vehicles in Mars or other potentially habitable planets to explore what their habitats and what is going on the planet that we're not able to do right now. So that's kind of how I see some other uses for autonomous platforms.
In our research about this entire topic, we continually came across the term loyal wingman. Rob, can you break down what a loyal wingman means in the military and how these drones change how wars might be fought?
Yeah, so Loyal Wingman is the proposed type of unmanned combat aircraft vehicle, which incorporates artificial intelligence and is also capable of collaborating with next generation manned combat aircraft, including the sixth generation fighters and bombers that I mentioned before. So it's kind of having that teaming aspect of a manned and an unmanned vehicle being paired together to accomplish a mission. And these drone wingmen could fill a number of various roles for the government. So, they could either broaden the mother's aircraft situational awareness by flying ahead with infrared, electromagnetic, radar, or virtual sensors. This could also improve the human pilot's situational awareness to map out targets or even identify a location of radars and air defense systems that provide a clear corridor for that manned vehicle. And this could also serve as a communication nodes for friendly forces or conduct electronic warfare operations by jamming enemy radars or communications or to other signals. And if they're large enough to carry their own arraignments, they could carry their own air-to-air or air-to-ground strikes alongside the main aircraft to, give that enemy multiple threats a counter. But even without onboard weapons, a drone swarm could serve as a decoy to befuddle the enemy. So, sending out that false signal to make it think that, this is a difficult adversary to differentiate between a manned and unmanned vehicle.
I'm curious to know, for young professionals interested in aerospace and defense, even some of the other categories that you mentioned, like marine and space operations, what advice would you give to these young professionals to prepare them for a career in this rapidly evolving field?
Yeah, so I always say a good skill set to have is beyond developing a solid knowledge base of the actual core competency or the field that you want to be in, is the willingness to learn. With this type of technology continuously advancing, professionals looking to break into the field must also have that same drive to push the boundaries of what is possible. In addition to learning, having that ability to collaborate and team with other industry experts and colleagues will be key in advancing the industry. So many times in my career, I've utilized teaming and personal skills learned throughout my time playing D1 college soccer. Having that ability to work with others, it will help anyone tremendously in that aerospace and defense industry. So, I think really having that teaming and ability to learn is going to be paramount for professionals moving forward.
Rob, we know this is all great, but once it's deployed, we now have the supply chain to deal with. And we know you have a background in supply chain and project management. And so we kind of wanted to tap into that as well. So to anchor this last part of this conversation, how important is the supply chain in making and maintaining these high-tech flying machines? Can you break down why it's so crucial once these platforms start to come online?
Yeah, and I think supply chain is a cornerstone to the new autonomous technology program success. And this might be some of my bias given my background in supply chain. But supply chain touches so many important aspects of new technology development, from supplier identification, design enhancements, supplier deliveries, and then the aftermarket sustainment and maintenance piece of it that not many realize and talk about as much. But let's consider the full project lifecycle from the initiation, project planning, project execution, project monitoring and control, and project closure. Without supply chain input in each of those elements, the project really wouldn't be a success, because you have to maintain costs to make it profitable for the customer, company, and also end users. So I think supply chain touches so many pieces of that puzzle that I think that's going to be a major player going forward for all these technology programs.
Absolutely. I know one of the hottest topics in aviation and aerospace right now is sustainability. And I'd love to hear from your perspective, what is the biggest challenges in creating a supply chain for environmentally friendly products in this sector? And have you identified any unique opportunities in all of this?
Yeah, I think, I look at challenges. I look at four key main challenges that I see in this market. Identifying really good suppliers is always hard. And as the landscape is ever evolving, expanding the supply base to include more local and international suppliers. I mean, we've seen from the COVID standpoint how that affects the supply chain. So, like I said, reflecting on the COVID challenges, not having alternative sources identified and already on board to deliver those materials is going to be really key. And in the aerospace industry, some suppliers are the only ones that are able to manufacture some materials. So the need to develop alternative other sources in the event of natural disasters. So we saw a lot of like the hurricanes or the earthquakes or tsunamis in the Asia region where, the supplier is out of pocket for X amount of days or months, and then that completely disrupts the supply chain. So having that, navigating those challenges is going to be really key for the market. One unique opportunity I thought that we're still working to see how it's going to develop and influence the market is how blockchain technology can be implemented for the supply chain use. And really, blockchain technology is an advancement database mechanism that allows transparent information sharing within a business network. And that blockchain database stores data in blocks where it can be linked together in a chain. So I see that really being useful, linking contracts, supply chain, all those other, various functions to create that supply chain ecosystem that might be the wave of the future.
Do you think that's what's needed for the large international projects for them to succeed? Because while, as you said, with COVID, a lot of especially US based companies have been shifting their supply chain closer to home, it's still impossible for some companies to leave some of their international supply chain partners. So I know you just mentioned blockchain right now. What are some other key things that we need to ensure for these supply chain projects to succeed?
Yeah, having a good program team is going to be really key for program execution success and also program overall success. My 5-step program management philosophy that I've developed over my 13 professional career to really drive team success has been, one, being engaged, gaining that leadership buy-in for program budget funding instead of a recruit. Two, being identifying the right functional disciplines to support the program team. Three, being outlined. How do we define a program mission statement and those key objectives? Four, being execute, driving program work and tracking the key performance indicators or metrics. And then finally, 5, being out brief, providing updates on the program results to leadership and customers. So, I think that having your own management principle is going to be key. But this is a management principle and philosophy that I've utilized for my own program team success over my career.
Rob, you've shared so much information with us, and I know you're like just a book of so much knowledge. And this is a bit of a personal question, but what are you most excited about with the line of work that you're doing?
I think I'm most excited about, the advancements in the space realm and then what can be done outer space. I think, as we look forward to habitable planets outside of Earth, I think that's is going to be key, having those autonomous platforms being utilized to try to advance that narrative for, the government and the world. I think that's kind of what I'm most excited about right now. So, the space element of autonomous vehicles.
For sure. It is really exciting.
And I know you shared advice earlier for young professionals who might be interested in the field. Are there any advice that you could share for people who are currently in the field who are trying to navigate their next career move? Like we're seeing a paradigm shift in the industry or in this sector of the industry, and there is exciting work for people from all other sectors in the industry to tap into. So is there any advice that you could give to someone who might be saying, hey, Rob, it looks like you're working on some really cool stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest piece of advice I can give is to network. And this might sound redundant, because some people have said it a lot, but it's the single most important skill to master as you navigate your career path. One bonus piece of advice I would give is also, fail fast and fail often. This allows you to gain as much experience as you can as quick as possible, while also aiding in your continuously learning element that I talked about earlier. The faster you fail, the quicker you can learn how to be better at something or learn what you don't like about the industry.
I really love that advice. The failure, I feel like as a society, we just need to change the way we view it, because there's so many benefits. Like, so many people have succeeded because of failure, and it's something that's not a waste of time or a missed opportunity. It's just it's a chance to come back stronger and with more insights and knowledge. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, my career path, I failed often, and, I'm here where I'm at right now. And as others are failing, I love what you say. It's like you try to, gauge that, redefine how we actually look at failure, because it could provide so many insights for people to advance their career path because they have failed and they know what to do next.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure. And you've brought so much value to this topic. Thank you again. And thank you for all the work that you're doing in our industry.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate the time today. Thanks, Mike, and thanks, Shasta. So yeah, I really appreciate the time, collaborating on this episode. And I think it'll be really impactful for, your podcast going forward. And if people need to reach out to me, please, feel free to, reach out to my LinkedIn or anywhere else that, you feel they'll be good.
Thanks for joining us, Rob.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. Before we move on, we've got just a couple of important housekeeping notes for all of our listeners out there. The first is join Uplink LinkUp community. Here's one benefit of joining. If you're looking to dive deeper into the world of aviation and join the conversation, we'd love for you to be a part of our Uplink LinkUp community. It's a great space where enthusiasts like you can discuss, debate, and share insights about everything aviation. Joining is super easy. Just head over to our website or check out the show notes for the link in our Uplink LinkUp WhatsApp group. We have a general group for aviation discussions, and we have a special Uplink LinkUp DC Metro group for our listeners in the DC area. Being part of Uplink LinkUp means you get to interact directly with us and other aviation enthusiasts. It's a fantastic way to get your questions answered, share your opinions, and even influence future podcast topics. So don't miss out on being part of the Uplink LinkUp community. Join today and take your love for aviation to new heights. We can't wait to interact with you all. Again, thank you for joining us, and we can't wait to see you next week.